Coming up, why are increasing numbers of families in Britain struggling to pay for food?
And as millions of people face starvation in Africa, we have a special report on drought-beating crops.
When the world leaders announced the next climate change summit, COP27, was to be held in Africa in Egypt, I was glad because they need to listen up.
Hi there. So here's some shocking info we found. Right now, there are 4 million British children whose parents are struggling to pay the bills and buy food.
And each month this year, those numbers have been rising to that figure. But why, Scarlett?
Well, it's down to many issues. But basically, everything's getting more expensive, while the money our parents are earning isn't always going up. You might have heard on the news, reporters talking about the cost of living crisis, and we've been looking into what that actually means. So the COVID pandemic meant that a lot of things weren't being made, so they were in short supply and cost more. The war in Ukraine means that our food's getting pricey because we used to get a lot of our ingredients from there. There's been a growing demand for gas and oil that we use for our cars, central heating, and to generate electricity. And because there's just not enough of it, the prices have been increasing. The Food Foundation, a charity that supports struggling families, asked a group of young people to share their unique ways of appealing for more help by the government.
Because at least I receive my lunch, I receive food.
So they decided to write and record a poem.
And I'm lucky to receive the honour.
So today we're creating a spoken word, but we're basically creating poetry to do with free school meals and why free school meals are important and they should be extended to everyone.
At the start of the day, we just wrote the words free school meal on a paper and we just threw words at it. So like what comes in our mind, what will happen if there are free school meals and all those, just like random words.
Yeah. It's from different perspectives of people who are affected by free school meals. And like we're 6 young people and we've chosen different perspectives and written our own section and brought it all together. I see potential and I see so much in my classroom of countless hungry children.
As a parent, I want to bring the world and put it at my child's feet, feet that deserve more.
I am the politician, I am the hope. Or am I the dark, scary nights that take away a shining light?
Have you ever experienced food insecurity, or maybe you've noticed like a friend or someone at school who's been experiencing that?
Some of my friends, they have, and like it makes me feel like guilty for not providing anything for them or like not being able to do anything for them. They just feel left out and like they're not really engaged and like they're not really happy with life, for example. And like you can see on their faces how down they're feeling. Yeah. And like that's like something that nobody should have to go through.
So I've seen many people at school who have free school meals and maybe some who actually aren't eligible for it either. So they can't actually afford to buy lunch for themselves, to buy enough lunch.
The poem, giving voices to all people affected by the rising costs of food, has now been sent to the Prime Minister.
I can't concentrate, I can't sleep well, I can't even survive, let alone thrive.
The 3 C's have caused even bigger issues in some parts of Africa. Hear me out. COVID and conflict have led to a shortage of food. But it's climate change that's the bigger issue. Drought has killed off crops. Millions of people in Ethiopia, Somalia and parts of Kenya have little or no access to food and water. Many are now experiencing starvation.
But there is hope, isn't there, Jiraiya? Almost 200 countries who are responsible for producing the gases that led to global warming have agreed to give money to nations worst hit by climate change. The agreement was made at the COP27 summit in Egypt. The money could be used to build flood defences, and in Africa, there is hope that it could help farmers produce crops to survive a drought. Here's Eliane to explain more. She's Kenya's youngest environmental campaigner.
I have planted over 1 million trees across Africa and just near my home in the city of Nairobi, Kenya. With permission, of course. Here, I organize events to get lots of people to buy seeds and plant trees. They help soak up climate-changing gases like carbon dioxide produced by cars and power stations. When the world leaders announced the next climate change summit, COP27, was to be held in Africa in Egypt, I was glad because they need to listen up. This is what it's like in East and Northern Kenya. just a few hours' drive from my city. It used to be green and healthy land, producing food for those who lived there. But look at it now. The land is dry. The crops are failing. People are starving here. Kenya is experiencing its worst drought in 40 years. More than 7 million people in the north and east are without food or access to water. Millions more in neighboring countries. Africa is among the smallest producers of carbon dioxide, yet it is becoming the biggest victim of climate change. Lots of charities are trying their best to save lives. Hey Tiffany, I just want to know, how bad is it out there where you are?
The epidemic of malnutrition in this part of Kenya has reached severe levels. Every day we see over 200 people for life-saving interventions for hunger response. Unless the food scarcity in these areas improves, lives will most certainly be lost.
I am heading to West Kenya, where there is also a drought. But here, there is hope. Just a few years ago, parts of this region had become so dry, it had been declared a semi-desert. But now, look at it. When farmers here saw how climate change was destroying their fertile land, they took action before it was too late. I discovered that farmers in the West have avoided a famine. They are learning about a new way to grow crops, and it evolves my favorite weapon to beat climate change: trees.
Okay, this one, maize.
Charities are teaching young farmers, like Naman, that trees not only save dry and damaged soil, but also protect their crops from drought. So I can see you have some purpose over there.
Yes, these ones, fruits you can eat. Either you like, you can sell.
But before Naman could grow his crops, he needed trees, lots of them. The issue is, they had all been chopped down. Traditionally, farmers destroy forests to create fields. So where did all these trees come from? It was discovered that if a stump of a tree had shoots like this, you could bring the tree and the soil back to life. But once the trees are established, the roots draw up water buried deep underground and hold rainwater around its roots. The tree roots also attract food for the crops, minerals and organic material known as nutrients. And the trees act like a canopy, protecting the crops from the wind and the burning sun. Naman learned about this method of farming at school when he was 12. He gave it a go. With no income, Naman needed to do something to save the family. How did it feel when you got your first ever crop?
I feel excited because the demand of crops was very high.
3 years on, Naman and his family are producing enough crops to feed themselves and others, and he is passing on his knowledge to the next generation of young farmers. Charities have trained more than 100,000 young farmers how to bring their farms back to life. In other parts of Africa, the land is lost. It is too late. But here, there is real hope. I want Africa to help others. What I found here is answers, not problems.
Thanks, Eliane. And for more amazing climate change beating ideas, check out the Sky Kids documentary, COP27, 6 Ways to Save Our Planet. Available right now on Sky Kids and via our webpage, first.news/FYI.
Coming up, Brayden meets the famous faces behind the voices of My Father's Dragon.
Are you for real? Of course I'm real. That was made up. Can I do this? What do you think?
Is this tree really hanging in the balance? Nope, it's an illusion created by street artist Huang Yao, who is going viral with his 3D artwork across China.
The World Cup host Qatar have been criticised over their strict laws, which include a ban on same-sex relationships.
But you will have noticed that football can be much more than just a game. Some players and fans say it's a chance to highlight issues in our world as it comes together. Others, including FIFA, which organises the World Cup, say we should just focus on football.
So many countries, including England, were going to wear the One Love armband. The One Love armband means love and respect, regardless of your religion, race, or even gender. But on Monday morning, just a few hours before the Iran vs England match, FIFA released a statement saying that no countries were allowed to wear the One Love armband. And if you did, a player would get booked before the match or even sent off.
That's so scary because they didn't even know what the penalties could be. I mean, it could be a yellow card, banned from playing, whatever it was. It was such a risk because they just don't know what could happen. Before their match with England, Iran's team refused to sing their national anthem.
Yeah, what was going on there?
Well, to support all the protests that are going back on in their home country, with girls protesting for equal rights. I mean, they've not been wearing their headscarves and they've been getting punished for that, and people have even died. I mean, it's such a brave thing for them to do because there's been heavy crackdown on protesters, so when they do get back home, they could get really punished for what they've done.
Wow.
On a brighter note, let me tell you about this story during England's game with Iran. This is brilliant.
It looks amazing.
Manchester City player Jack Grealish met up with superfan Finlay Fisher, who has cerebral palsy. Finlay wrote to Grealish when he learnt that the player's sister Holly also has cerebral palsy. During the meeting, Jack Grealish made this promise.
You want to do this?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that for you, all right?
All right.
I promise. But remember, I've
Next
got to
time you
score,
score,
though.
next time you
Next
score.
time I score, yeah? All right, then.
True to his word, he did the dance after scoring the 6th goal in England's 6-2 win against Iran at the World Cup. We have another story for you, but is it fake or fact? Did this comedian really shred £10,000? Joe Lycett threatened to destroy the money in protest if the former England player David Beckham didn't resign from his role promoting Qatar's World Cup.
When Beckham didn't respond, the comedian released this video. But it's fake. He later revealed he did not shred real money, and instead, he donated £10,000 to charity.
I would never destroy real money. I would never be so irresponsible.
Loads of new films are due out as we approach Christmas.
Yeah, Braden has met the famous faces behind the voices of My Father's Dragon.
The times got hard.
Elmer!
And he was a child like any other.
Struggling to cope after a move to the city with his mother, Elmer runs away in search of a wild island and a young dragon who waits to be rescued.
My name is Elmer.
My name's Boris. Not as cool, but it goes with my face.
Together, they form a rocky relationship, trying to outwit ferocious beasts in order to save the island from doom.
There must be a way to figure it out.
Early in the film, we see that Elmer's trying to hide a cat inside the apartment, even though he's not really allowed to, is he? Now, let's flip this and say he had to hide a dragon, right?
Okay.
A massive dragon. Where are you hiding the dragon?
I have an idea. There's no way you're gonna be able to fit like a dragon in a closet. What you have to do is hide the dragon in plain sight. And
Boris could be the sofa.
Oh, there we go. Now we're getting ideas in. Also early in the film, we see that Elmer's mother's struggling a little bit financially. Now, are there any messages that you think young people should take away from this film?
When you're young, it's hard to really register when your family is struggling. And it's sometimes you grow up in that environment and you start to learn as you get older that a lot of times life is really unfair and it hurts and it stings, and it especially hurts to see your parents go through something like that. The way to get through these situations is through the people in your life.
I think an important part about this movie is how Elmer, throughout the movie, he's kind of being a bit more selfish, but in the end he decides that he needs to do the right thing and, let Boris be his own dragon.
But what is the biggest difference between acting on screen and then doing voice acting?
For this, you're just like in a random recording booth. And that recording booth kind of became our home.
What's the matter? You're not a hugger? Too cool for public displays of affection? There's so much freedom going into it. I remember us doing Irish jigs and us just getting to run around and enjoy this kind of playroom that we had created.
This really was my lucky day. And tomorrow's gonna be even luckier.
Well, that wasn't that Christmassy, but I do love Christmas films.
Yeah, what do you love about Christmas films?
They're just so exciting. They get you in the festive spirit. They're great.
Give me brownies, popcorn, I'm all good.
I love all Christmas films.
Yeah, don't we all?
So that's all the info we have this week. But if you have a story and want to report on FYI, get in touch via our webpage.
Yeah, there's details there on how your teachers can set up FYI news clubs so you can get more involved. See you next time.
Bye.